What if Deku was an angel? Part 1. Now settle down, grab some popcorn or whatever drinks or food you would like, as this is going to be a pretty long episode, or what if part. It's going to be at least 40 minutes long, so settle down, relax, and enjoy this video. And now let's get into this what if. Izuku was born like any other child, as he would end up growing up into a happy life. It was very ordinary to some, but to most it wasn't. He grew up with only a mother, never knowing who or what his dad looked like. As his mother would always say when he asked where his dad was, that he was just doing business abroad somewhere else. Now, at the age of 4, Izuku's life would turn practically upside down. He would walk to a Quirk doctor's office, happy holding his All Might figurine in his hand, swooshing it around as if he was flying. As they would arrive, sitting there, as the Quirk doctor would stare right at Izuku with a dead glance and would say something very bluntly. "Sorry, ma'am, it's not gonna happen. He's Quirkless." With this light of hand, Izuku's All Might figurine would drop down to the floor as the room would become eerily quiet. Izuku would just sit there with a look of expressionless but also shock. He didn't know what to think, as the Quirk doctor would just look at him with pity in his eyes as he'd say, "There's no chance of him becoming a hero now. I suggest giving up, boy, or else you'll get yourself killed." Inko would stand up defendingly, throwing her arm out in front of Izuku as if she was protecting him. She'd say, Can't you have said that different? That's too much information to say to a child. You just destroyed his hopes and dreams with 2 sentences. Couldn't you have said it in a better tone?" The Quirk doctor would only look at Inko as he would say, "The door's that way, ma'am. Got other patients to take care of. Suggest you leave now or else you want me to call security." Inko would bow down, pleading and saying sorry, as she would then grab Izuku's hands and wrist and would then just run out of the hospital as she would go into her car, as she would be crying on the way to their house with Izuku as well. As they would get there with Inko hurrying them inside, as she would then sit him down on the couch as they would both start crying together. Inko very much was just as emotional as Izuku was. Now, over the years, Inko would just try to help Izuku, trying to encourage him, saying he still can be a hero. It's not like the Inko in canon, where she just soaked because of Izuku being Quirkless. She would at least try to help Izuku being Quirkless. Instead of saying sorry, she would try to encourage him, but it was no use. Izuku would come home countless days with burns and bruises and cuts littered all over his body, and a couple days he would even come home drenched in blood. That's how bad the bullying got, just because he was missing power. Everyone just was strangling Izuku as if they were just had a wrap around his neck just because he was Quirkless. It's not like they would actually strangle him, but it was close to that. They would always punch and kick him every single day. They would just yell and laugh at him when he would walk down the halls. They would never be friends with such a Quirkless loser like him. That would tarnish their reputation. That's what everybody would say. Izuku would pretty much grow up without a childhood in school. Whenever he would want to go play with somebody on the playground, they would just kick him away, saying he wasn't used to them. It wasn't any use to them. If they were playing tag, they would just push him away. The teachers wouldn't care. He was Quirkless. Nobody would care if some random Quirkless kid died, right? Now, at the age of 14, something would change with Izuku. Izuku would be sitting there as the teacher would walk in holding a stack of papers. This teacher would, of course, be Izuku's last period teacher, and it just happened to be the last day of school. The teacher would look at the papers and would then say, "So it appears we've all filled out where we want to go for high school," as he would then throw it up in the air saying, "Who cares about this crap? I know you all want to be heroes, don't you?" As the entire class would scream and laugh, saying how much they wanted to be heroes and how much they wanted to have all this fame and glory and save people, while Izuku would just be sitting there saddened by the fact nobody was looking at him or even feeling sad for him. I mean, everyone was just going about that showing off, as if it just made Izuku think they were showing off to spite him because of all the bullying he's had to face throughout his years as a quirkless person. Izuku would just be sitting there as the teacher would then say, "Appears we have 2 people that are gonna be going to UA." Now, this would cause the many class to perk up, thinking, "We know Bakugo's gonna be one, but who's the other person?" The teacher would, of course, just laugh, and he would grow a smirk on his face as he would then read off the next name. And the second person going to UA, or at least trying to, is Izuku Midoriya. As the entire class would burst into laughter, as some of the random people behind him, background characters, would just say, "You think you'll get into UA? My grandma has a better chance of getting into UA. She is a weak fire Quirk." Izuku would only shrink down, trying to become as small as possible to try and not get hit by all these hate comments that he was getting. Izuku would then just try to leave the class as the bell would ring, but Bakugo would grab him by the strap of his backpack and throw him back into the by now empty classroom, as Bakugo would steal Izuku's backpack, as Bakugo would then take a look at his hero analysis. He would think, "Oh, you're still trying to be a hero, are you, Deku?" As Izuku would try to shrivel up, not wanting to appear better than Bakugo himself, the high and mighty, as Izuku would just be sitting there as Bakugo would slam both his hands on the book, charring it into a crisp and throwing it out a window. Izuku would run out the door, hoping to go retrieve it, as Bakugo would then say one last thing. And I don't want to say this thing, but I know most of you guys have watched the first episode of My Hero Academia, so I'm guessing you know what he said. Izuku would rushing down with tears in his eyes as he'd say, "The hell is that idiot thinking? What if I actually did what he asked me to? What if I actually did it?" As Izuku would start crying as he would grab his notebook and run out, just hoping to get home as fast as possible, hoping nobody would see what he was doing, or hoping nobody would take pity on some random quirkless child in the streets crying. Izuku would be running out, taking back ways so no one would see him, and this is where he would end up, behind this bridge, or under this bridge, overpass, whatever you want to call it, as he would hear something behind him gurgling. It was a strange sound to Izuku as he would turn around to see this weird goop-looking thing, as if a booger from somebody's nose, just sitting there, but it was huge, abnormally huge. This thing would then come into this huge sludge villain monster, as it would then say, "Ah, perfect meat shield. Now, this will only take a second." As the sludge villain would then completely cover Izuku as if trying to suffocate him, as Izuku would be grasping for air. He was being suffocated, as Izuku would then lose consciousness, as he would then hear somebody say, "I am here," as Izuku's little fate and hope had just been there, but Izuku's light that kept shining throughout the years just died out. He was dead. All Might would defeat the sludge villain, as Izuku's lifeless body would collapse. No movement or breathing at all. All Might would try to perform CPR on Izuku, but it was no use, as All Might would call the police and an ambulance, as the ambulance would take Izuku away, with All Might giving the sludge villain to the police. All Might would go back to his house, just saddened by the fact he couldn't save a young child. All Might would be sitting in his room, just thinking. He's seen countless people die, many children in fact too, but this one, it was different to him. If he was only moments earlier, it was as if fate changed just because he was running a couple seconds late, because he took a wrong turn going into the sewer, as he felt something. It was just his hunger for making everybody happy. It was strange to him. How couldn't he have saved this child? It was crazy. Now we cut to Izuku, who would wake up to hear a voice. This person would then say, Izuku. Izuku would say, where am I? And who are you? This person would then say, why, I'm God, of course, and you're in heaven right now. As Izuku would then just have his eyes wide and say, wait, then that would mean, yup, that's the case. You died just a couple of seconds ago. But I have a proposition for you. A deal, in fact. However, it will come at a cost. My power isn't unlimited, after all. Izuku would just say, my mother, she's gonna be devastated. Oh, I know, Izuku. Now, for this deal I have for you. Sure, I am God, but my power cannot go to such lengths as resurrecting. So, I will somewhat resurrect you. However, the drawback is nobody will remember who you are. Your parents, Bakugo Katsuki, they won't know who you are. They still will remember their son Izuku Midoriya. They'll just think he's dead. And now a quick ad break before we get back into this what if.
Are you interested in buying yourself some My Hero Academia merch? Some amazing hoodies, shirts with your favorite character on it? From Izuku Midoriya to Shoto Todoroki, Bakugo Katsuki, and Himiko Toga. Go click the link in my description box now and get some awesome discounts from 17% up to 48% off. They offer you free shipping as well. So, what are you waiting for? Link in the description.
Now that the ad is over, we can get back into this what if. Izuku would just be sitting there thinking, no one would remember me. I'll never be able to say goodbye to my mom. She'll just think I'm dead. Now, this strange figure, or now known as God, would look down at Izuku saying, think, what would your mother want from you? She would want you to become the greatest hero. After all, it's what she always wanted you to become. A great hero, just like you wanted to become. So I'm giving you the opportunity to become this great hero you've always wanted to be. Izuku would then put out his hand saying deal, as God would then say, oh, I'm not like the devil where we shake hands. I'll just grant it for you. As this person would snap their fingers, as Izuku would then wake up, breathing heavily, as he would look around. Where am I? As Izuku would stand up and look into a mirror that was in a bathroom nearby his room. He had white hair and white wings. He looked angelic, as he would then hear a voice in his head. Izuku, you are known as Deku. You don't have a last name. That's just all you are known as. Your parents don't know who you are since you've changed. They think you're dead. I've given you money in a bank account. As he would then give him the password account info, with Izuku now having a steady start to his life. He could buy a house and food for years. As Izuku would look at the date, it seemed like you'd only been in heaven for a few minutes. But that wasn't the case. He was in there for 3 minutes talking to God, but 3 months had passed. Izuku would walk down his local street and into a cemetery. As he would walk to a headstone, as he would think, just as I thought, my grave, right here. It's so weird. Just looking at it, I can't fathom it. Izuku would then think, as he'd say, 7 months till the UA entrance exams. I better get started. I mean, I do have these new powers and abilities, I guess. As Izuku would get started, as he would try to become a better person and growing his strengths. As Izuku would be walking around receiving many stares from people, this person was just glowing in something that always caught somebody's eye. He was basically, if he was a hero, would be the perfect type of hero. He was just like All Might. If you'd see it, you couldn't look away. Izuku, just very figure, was emanating some type of angelic aura that made everybody just stare at him in awe. As Izuku would just try to walk down the street, getting very embarrassed, seeing all these random people just staring at him. As 7 months would pass with Izuku training his Quirk. During those 7 months, he would end up buying a house and much food so he could survive. Izuku would end up training at Deku Beach. This beach is where he would learn his many abilities, such as flight with his angel wings, and also a weapon thing that he can use. Basically, it's a way to summon weapons. A very powerful weapon is an angelic axe. It's a white and gold axe with a gold brim which could slice through pretty much anything. It was Izuku's go-to weapon, which was the angelic axe. I can't think of a name for that axe, so I'm gonna give it up to you guys. The comment with the most likes on what this axe's name should be will become what Izuku's axe is called, instead of just angelic axe. Izuku would be walking to UA, as he would get many stares, just like I said. He would walk into the auditorium as President Mike would start to explain everything that was gonna go down. First, they would do the written exam, and then the hero exam for all the people trying to get into the hero class. But he'll explain that later. They have to get through the written exam, and then he can start to explain what the hero examinees should hopefully try to expect. Izuku, now with a greater intelligence, which was another one of his abilities he gained, would easily be able to finish this test in lightning fast speed and pace. Izuku would just be sitting there, waiting for the rest of the people to finish, which would take 3 hours. So naturally, he would end up stumbling off into being asleep, or sleepness, I don't know what to say. Izuku would be sleeping as President Mike would start to explain the hero exam, as somebody would stand up saying, "President Mike, sir, it did say on this pamphlet here that there was 4 robots and not 3. You only explained 3. If this was a mistake on UA's part, I'm severely disappointed. And as for you," as he would point to Izuku sleeping up at the top back of the auditorium, as Izuku would wake up, standing up sleepily, pointing at himself. Me? Izuku would say very tiredly, as if he was about to collapse from just exhaustion, being just wanting to sleep more, as Ida would then say, "Yes, if you think this is a joke, I suggest you leave. You shouldn't be sleeping while President Mike here is explaining things." Izuku, now awake from all the yelling, would just sit back and say, "My apologies? I don't know what I'm even apologizing for. You're just yelling at me for pretty much no reason. But you could probably already be doing the test now if you didn't interrupt Present Mike. As Ida would then sit down, just grumbling something about how rude Izuku was, even though he was clearly the rude one and the person in wrong. Izuku would be sitting there watching as Present Mike would explain the rest of the test, which Izuku would only catch 0 pointer, and that was about it. Present Mike would let all the students out, as Izuku would be sitting there waiting for something to happen. As the doors would open to this gate, as Izuku would rush out, seeing a bunch of robots. Izuku's natural intelligence that he gained would think, oh, guess I just have to destroy robots. This should be pretty easy. Izuku would get out his angelic axe as he would swipe down, sending a huge golden beam right at it. If you've ever watched any animes that have any weapons, you'd see if they just swiped and like this aura would come out as if it was sending a huge amount of air pressure. This is basically what it would be, but golden, and would slice all the robots' heads clean off as Izuku would continue his journey, putting his axe onto a hilt on his waist. Yeah, I mean, he can't put it on his back because he has wings there, so Izuku would lift off, flapping his wings as he would then go around looking for more robots. He would get out 2 swords that he also was able to get, which I'll just call angelic swords, as he would easily be able to stab 2 robots with these swords and would then turn around with a bow and arrow, an angelic bow and arrow, and easily shoot a robot that was about to shoot at him. Izuku had 7 months to train. With his increased intelligence, this seemed like he just got 40 years of mastery of each and every single weapon that he had in his arsenal. He basically had a mastery of so many different things. I mean, he's an angel, of course. He is much stronger than any normal human. And also any normal human with a quirk, too. He's an angel. So Izuku would naturally catch the eyes of the teachers, with Nezu just saying, oh, that one's interesting. What's his name? Aizawa would look down onto a pamphlet as he would then say, Nezu, sir. At least that's what he said here. Ah, very interesting. Aizawa would then say, yes, it is. He has a very cool and powerful quirk. It's very flashy, too. As Nezu would then pop open some type of capsule, as he would then say, well, let's just get this over with, as he would slam his tiny paw down onto a big red button, as something would start to come out of the ground, as a massive 0-pointer robot would start to stomp all over the fake city that they had built. Izuku would look up to see this fake city, or 0-pointer robot stomping down as he would hear a cry for help. He would rush over to this cry of help to see a girl stuck under a boulder. Izuku would get out a tiny dagger and would just start doing hundreds of tiny little cuts, splitting this huge boulder into tiny little pieces of rock, which this girl, now Chaka Uraraka, would step out from under there, but would twist her leg in the process and would screech in pain. Izuku would get out his angelic axe and would throw it right at the 0-pointer's head, chopping it clean off, and would then fly up to its chest, kicking it the other way, as he would grab the girl and fly away from anywhere she could get hurt in the wreckage. As Izuku would then hear over the intercom that the testing has now ended, and for anybody who has gotten hurt to please go to Recovery Girl's office. Izuku would fly off back to his house. As he would arrive there, 2 weeks later, he would end up getting a letter in the mail which would say that he has gotten accepted into UA. Izuku would be overjoyed as he has finally got into his school of his dreams. Yes, he would start to cry. Everything he has gone through to get here, and everything he has lost. Sure, his mother is still alive, but he can't go back to her. She'd probably just think he's some crazy kid that's trying to get some easy way out of life and leech off some crying old lady. Izuku would just be sitting there smiling at his letter of acceptance as a week later he would arrive very, very early to UA. As he would walk into his Class 1A classroom, as he would then fall asleep, as many other people would later get there hours later. Izuku would end up waking up to the sound of chit-chat, as he would then start to hear the door handle start to wobble on the class door. The door would then somehow slide open, as he would then see somebody standing in a weird-looking yellow sleeping bag. Now, some of the class would scream, saying, "Oh my gosh, is that some weird mutant caterpillar?" As this person would then stand up, as he would come out of the sleeping bag, saying, "Jesus, it's only your homeroom teacher. Can't you treat me with a little more respect this time?" The person who screamed that would then say sorry, as the now homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa, would then tell them that they will be doing a Quirk apprehension test. I think that's how you say it, I'm not quite sure. Now, this would cause everyone to wonder, what does that mean? From there, Aizawa would give them all PE uniforms and would tell them to go down to their locker rooms to get changed and then go to testing site A, as that's the only dirt field they'll be able to test their quirks on. As the rest of the class would leave, as Izuku would go to leave, only to be stopped by Aizawa. Aizawa would tell Izuku that he's the only exception with wearing their uniforms and that he doesn't have to wear them because of his wings. Izuku would just nod understandably as he would walk down to testing site A with Aizawa. Aizawa would start to talk about Izuku's quirks and what they are. Izuku would then feel that Aizawa should know what happened to Izuku and Izuku's story, as Izuku would just laugh awkwardly as he'd say, "Well, my power has a strange origin. Do you know All Might?" Aizawa would nod his head, wondering where this is going, as Izuku would then say, "Just around 10 months ago, All Might failed to save a kid. His name was Izuku Midoriya. It was all over the news saying how a Quirkless kid died and All Might didn't save him, or just barely didn't." Aizawa would nod, still confused at where Izuku was taking this conversation, as Izuku would then say, "I was that kid. I died and got sent to heaven, then got sent back to here as an angel with angel powers. 'Cause God pitied me and thought I deserved more than just a sad death, because I somehow was able to live years with constant torment and bullying." Aizawa would nod, just saddened by the fact Izuku had such a hard and troubled life, but was happy now that he gets to teach somebody and could possibly have some sort of sidekick or son type of relationship with Izuku. I mean, right now Izuku's not an orphan, but he kind of is, because he can't just go to his mom's house. Now, when they would arrive down at testing site A, all the students would wonder what took Aizawa and Izuku so long. Now, we see Bakugo looking at Izuku, wondering something. That face. It looks quite familiar, almost like Izuku's face. That damn Deku, though, had green hair, not white. But the coincidence is almost uncanny that this kid's name is Deku. Who would name their kid Deku? As Izuku would then be tossed a ball by Aizawa, as Aizawa would tell Izuku to throw this ball as hard as he possibly can. Izuku would wind back his arm with the ball in hand, as he would then throw the ball as hard as he physically can, as it would then be shot straight into the upper atmosphere, as the entire class would look on in complete shock as they say, "What, Izuku? How'd you do that?" Izuku would just laugh, saying that one of his abilities is super strength, as Bakugo would push other people aside and snatch a ball right out of Aizawa's hands, as he would then throw the ball as hard as he could, which it would only go around 700 meters. As the entire class would then see Bakugo's personality, how he thought he was better than everyone when he really wasn't. Or some of them, really. Pretty much only Izuku, seeing how Bakugo's thirst for being better than everyone still came to UA even after his death, or first death. I'm not hinting at anything at all. I'm just kidding. Izuku would then be called to do the rest of the tests with races and grip strength and a bunch of other random stuff, just trying to test each other's quirks. Izuku would end up getting first place, with Bakugo and Todoroki in 5th and 6th, with Momo in 2nd. People with more useful quirks would be up higher. Now, what I don't get is, in a lot of what ifs and fan fictions and random stuff, people always put Todoroki up first, which, when using in the ball throw, the grip strength, and a lot of other things that were just physically, Todoroki had nothing. In the race, he could do pretty much nothing besides glide on ice. So I don't get why people always put him so high. Sure, he's strong and a very good student, but that doesn't mean it goes along with the tests. Izuku would then be dismissed along with the rest of the class, with Izuku in first. Now, the person in last place would of course be Mineta. However, my editor's favorite character is Mineta, apparently. This video is not edited, of course, you guys could probably tell, but he would probably hate me if I just expelled Mineta, so no one will be expelled. I also don't expel Mineta anymore because I usually always forget, and then the people that do remember would end up just telling me that I expelled Mineta in part 1, but how's he back in the sports festival or something? Izuku would end up walking home after that, as he would just be sitting there, happy that he was able to tell somebody, just at least one person, his story as a human, or angel now. Now, Izuku would then go back to school for his second day at UA. During Izuku's second day, he would end up having his first ever hero class. And of course, this is where he would end up meeting All Might for the second time. Now, how would All Might end up meeting Class 1A? Of course, you all know he would end up running through the door like a normal person, with the entire class just going, "Whoa, All Might! That's insane! That's crazy! I can't believe he'll be our teacher!" And all the random stuff that students might say when the number one hero or most well-known person in Japan is their teacher. As All Might would end up seeing Izuku, just wondering, that face, it looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. Why does that face look so familiar to me? As All Might would then tell the class that they will be doing a heroes vs. villains exercise, and for all of them, to put their hero costumes on. This would spark confusion in the class, wondering, hero costumes? What do you mean, All Might? As All Might would then say, well, you can't be heroes without your costumes, can you? Remember when you submitted your hero design costumes before you even came here? Well, our lovely staff was able to prepare you sort of a draft for your sake. The entire class's eyes would just sparkle in amazement, saying, whoa, thanks, All Might, this is crazy! Can't believe they would do this for us. With All Might just laughing, saying, yeah, isn't it amazing? They made it with the finest silk they could get. As the entire class would just marvel at how amazing this was. As All Might would then just laugh as he'd say, alright class, go to the locker rooms and put those on so we can begin this exercise. Once the entire class had put all of their uniforms or hero costumes on and gotten down to where All Might was, they would then begin the exercise or assignment, where All Might would then assign the teams. Izuku and Uraraka versus Bakugo and Ida, just like in canon. Izuku would be sitting there, just kicking rocks, waiting for All Might to tell them that they can go into the building. Izuku would then hear All Might say that they can go into the building, as Izuku would grab the earpiece out of his ear and crush it, as he would then grab Uraraka's ear, take it out and crush it, as she would turn around and try to smack him, with him narrowly dodging, to say, whoa, sorry, I was just trying to destroy those. You never know, they might have been a tracking device in them that Bakugo and Ida could have used. Uraraka would then just start saying, oh, sorry, it was just a reaction, I guess. Izuku would just laugh and say, I guess it's okay. From there, they would then walk into the building, as Izuku would start to hear running from down the halls, as he would say, where the hell are you, Deku? This, of course, being Bakugo Katsuki. Izuku would be standing there waiting for Bakugo to arrive, as Bakugo would cut around a corner, just smiling devilishly as he could finally use his quirk against somebody, as Bakugo would launch himself flying towards Izuku and would send a huge explosion right at him. Izuku, of course, would just knock this away with the slap of a wrist with his immense power, as Bakugo would jump back, just confused. How was his power deflected this easily? As the smoke would clear, Izuku, holding an axe, would jump out from the smoke and would send the axe flying down towards Bakugo's throat. All Might would then say that, don't do it, Izuku, you could kill him! Izuku's axe would then land right by Bakugo's neck, as Izuku would lean down and whisper into Bakugo's ear, I know what you did, Bakugo. As Bakugo's eyes would widen, he'd say, How? How do you know? Izuku would then just look at him as he'd say, Angel knows what you did, Bakugo. Think about that. As Izuku would then disappear along with Uraraka, as they would then find themselves up on top of the top floor. As Izuku would bust down the door, as he and Uraraka would jump in, as Ida would be there guarding the bomb, as he'd say, heroes, I won't let you stop my villainous plans. As Izuku would then jump right at Ida, causing a distraction, allowing for Uraraka to just simply run around Ida and touch the bomb, giving Izuku's team the victory. All Might would congratulate them, as they would then go back to their houses being dismissed, of course after all the classes finished their testing as well. Now the entire 2 weeks would end up passing, just doing pretty much the same thing with just training their quirks or powers/abilities. Isuku would do this nonstop, hoping to become a great hero. He's always wanted to better his abilities, even though they always seem greater than he thinks they are, even though they clearly are. Now, Izuku would arrive back in school just like any normal day, except when he would arrive in class, a strange map was up on the chalkboard. He would walk in confused, just like the rest of his classmates, as he would look intensely and closely at this map. As Aizawa would walk into the room, saying, "Sit down, children. This here's a map of the USJ, or known as Foreseen Simulation Joint. We will be going there today as sort of a class field trip. You'll be learning action and rescue courses for heroes." Most of the class would jump up in joy, saying, "Yeah, it's our first step to becoming great heroes." Aizawa would just get annoyed, as he would have to raise his voice, saying, "Can you all shut up and sit down?" The entire class would immediately sit back down into their spots, as Aizawa would then say, "Thank you. Now go put your hero suits on and get on that bus," as he would point out a window towards a bus on the road, as the entire class would rush down to the locker rooms, get their hero suits on, and go hop on the bus to go to the USJ. As everyone would hop on this bus, as people would start asking about each other's quirks. This would of course bring up Tsuyu Asui, talking about how Izuku's quirk seems so much like an angel's quirk. Izuku would just laugh awkwardly, saying, "Yeah, I guess so." From there, this would cause some of the class to get confused, as they would just say, "Wait, you're not saying you are an angel, are you?" Izuku would just laugh, saying, "No, not at all." From there, the bus would arrive, with Aizawa interrupting their conversation, saying, "We're here. Get off the bus, class. We don't want to cause any interruptions for the driver." As Izuku and his class would get off the bus and walk up the stairs to the doors. From there, they would see the hero 13, to which Ochako Uraraka would start to just fangirl, saying, "Oh my gosh, it's 13! I can't believe it, you're my favorite hero." From there, 13 would just try to say, "Thanks, I guess. Now, what we'll be doing," as they would start to explain all the things they would be doing in and around the USJ, as she would then push the doors open, revealing a massive complex of different sorts of activities they needed to do for a grade/assignment. Isuku would see the water zone, saying, "Jeez, I want my wings to get wet. Every time it rained and my wings got wet, it was so annoying." Izuku would then see the middle of this coliseum or dome type thing, as it would just catch his eye. He couldn't move his eye off of it. It was as if something was going to happen, and he knew something was, as if he knew something was going to happen. Something bad was going to happen, and it was all going to start right at the center. And his eyes and his thoughts didn't fool him. Something did happen. A huge purple portal opened up right in the center of the USJ. Now, this would cause some of his classmates to gasp, while Kirishima would say, "Whoa, they even have fake villains here too? This place has everything!" Aizawa would jump down, as he would then look over to 13, saying, "13, protect the students." 13 would nod, as she would back up and tell the students to try to leave through the doors. However, something was blocking it. The same purple substance was blocking it that was the portal down by the fountain. As this thing would then grow eyes, as it would start to speak. "Oh no, I can't let you leave. Master won't be proud if I did." as they would all look towards the center to see Aizawa fighting the many different types of villains. Izuku would start to breathe very slowly and calmly as he would start to walk forward, his eyes glowing a simple white, as the whole class would wonder what Izuku was doing, which he was doing a breathing technique to try to calm himself down. One thing that God didn't mention while giving him these angelic powers was that he also can have somewhat of a temper when good people's lives are at stake. He doesn't want good people to just die because some random person decides they shouldn't be living anymore. So Izuku would then jump down as he would get his axe in hand and would then land down on the ground. Aizawa would look over towards Izuku, saying, "Izuku, the hell do you think you're doing? Let the pros take care of this." Izuku would then fly off straight towards Aizawa, and with his free hand would grab him and put him down back with 13, as if telling Aizawa that he is going to take care of the villains and that Aizawa can't do anything about it. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this extra long video. I know it's been so long since I've done a 40-minute video, and so I hope you enjoy. Part 2 will most likely be this length as well, so enjoy it while it lasts. My videos will probably end up being 20 to 30 minutes from now on. If they're edited, they'll be down to 10 to 15, but if they're not, they're gonna be 20 to 30 minutes. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.